Hello, I'm Miss Checkley and I'm one of the psychology teachers at NSB. I'm going to just go over some of the basics regarding psychology, looking at the subject, what it involves, and also how it's taught at the school. We follow AQA psychology, so for any further information you can look at the website for the full specification, but I will give you an overview of the subject and just explain what we do at NSB. So first of all then, psychology is known as the study of the human mind and behaviour, and that can be quite vague. But what we're trying to do within psychology is understand really why it is people do the things that they do and what it is that influences them to behave in the way that they do. And we also look to try and understand people's behaviour to also understand some of the wider issues within society that may face us. And one of the big things that we look at within social psychology is the concept of social change and how things change within society over time, and we bring together how lots of different people act and respond to see how those changes occur. So psychology is about looking at society, but in its main factor it's looking at the individual and why it is that they're doing what they're doing and kind of what makes them respond in the way that they do. Another reason to maybe pick psychology, it is a new subject for many. The only thing we would say is make sure that you kind of understand what psychology is, because there can be some misconceptions about the subject, but it's a new subject, and for many a new interest, they come and join in and actually find that they have an interest in things that potentially they hadn't thought of before, like the attachment of children and memory, etc. Psychology has a massive different kind of wide range of focuses. We will look at biology, so biology is part of the course. There also is a 10% math component, and also we look at essay writing. So therefore the way I see it is that it branches across the whole curriculum. You know, you're using your written skills, you're using your science knowledge, and you're using your math-based skills as well. We consider a whole range of things when trying to explain human behaviour, but trying to kind of condense these down without focusing on one particular unit. You can talk about how psychology focuses on environmental factors, how it talks about biological factors, things like your personality and your characteristics, as well as your cognitive factors like your thought processes. So when we talk about environmental factors, we're talking about the influence of others maybe on our behaviour or situations around us. Biology would be things like your genetics, personality, your characteristics, and the cognitive ideas of kind of your thought processes and the way that you're actually processing information. So the subject-based entry requirements for psychology, in addition to the 5s that you need in both maths and English, you will also need a 6 in biology or a 6-6 if you're taking the double award in science. This is important because there is quite a biological basis to the course. So the structure of the course, as I've said already, we do study AQA psychology at NSB, but there are also 3 2-hour examinations that you will sit at the end of year 13, usually in the summer term, and there is no coursework for psychology. So paper 1 is introductory topics, which I'll look at with you in a moment. Paper 2 is psychology in context, and paper 3 is issues and options in psychology. For those of you wondering, the options that we are taking at NSB are explained on the next slide. So the course content for paper 1, we study social psychology, memory, attachment, and psychopathology. So just to explain a little bit about these. Social psychology is the study of others and their influence on you. So why is it that we obey authority figures? Why do we conform to groups of people who are potentially asking us to do things that we wouldn't normally do, or we're kind of following along with a group and doing something that potentially normally on our own we certainly wouldn't consider doing. Memory is about the processing of information, and we look here at both long-term and short-term memory, the way memory is structured, and also we focus on eyewitness testimony and how it can be that somebody believes that they've seen something, but actually when it comes to it and we break it down, their memory's been influenced by kind of events, other people's memories, or anxiety. We look at attachment, which is fundamental to psychology, as we focus on child development, and we look at how your first attachment in life actually influences your future behaviour. And psychopathology is where we look at the disorders, and we start by looking at what is normal and abnormal, but we also focus on OCD, depression, and phobias. On paper 2 then we look at approaches, where we look at the 6 fundamental perspectives in psychology and how that they explain our behaviour. And this is something that if you join the course you will begin to research over the summer for NSB. So we look at something called behaviourism, social learning theory, which both kind of look at environmental influences. The cognitive approach, where we look at your thought processes that are also influenced by your experiences. We look at the psychodynamic approach written by Freud and looks at unconscious processes. We look at humanism, which focuses on things like the self and self-actualization. And we look at the biological approach, which looks at the idea that your behaviour is due to your genetics, as well as other things. There's also a unit on biopsychology where we focus on things like your biological rhythms, the idea that we have a sleep rhythm, for example, and we also focus on factors such as the brain, where we study localized areas, the different hemispheres, and we look at the brain's ability to adapt and remold itself after trauma, as well as studying things like neurons, synaptic transmission, and the endocrine system. Within research methods, we focus on conducting your own research and carrying out your own studies, and we look at how studies are put together. What this does as psychologists is gives us an understanding of how research is put together, and therefore it gives us the ability to evaluate not just the research that we are studying, but also our own research, our own psychological pieces of research that we might do into different topic areas. Paper 3 then is issues and options, and at NSB we study gender, eating behaviour and aggression. So we spend time looking at the development of gender. Is this a biological thing or developed by the environment? Eating behaviour, so what are the evolutionary factors on eating? Do we learn some of that from our parents? And also we look at 2 eating disorders, anorexia and obesity. And in aggression we look at the influences on aggressive behaviour. So what has caused us to become aggressive? Is it high levels of testosterone, or is it due to imitating our peers, etc.? Within issues and debates then, we look at some of the wider concepts within psychology and bring the whole of the course together. And we look at things like the nature-nurture debate and whether free will exists or whether everything's deterministic, to give you a couple of examples. So that we have 2 psychology teachers at NSB, and you are likely to either have one of us or both of us, depending on how your class is split and how the timetable works. So psychology is taught predominantly in the classroom, and it includes a range of different activities, from you may be doing some practical work with conducting your own piece of research, and this will probably be done as a group, or doing independent work and research on your own. We do often like to engage students in discussion and ask for your thoughts and your views on different perspectives and studies, and we will get you to discuss that with those around you. You will be required to do some wider reading. You will be required to do independent research, and you will also have lots of different written assessments. Now, psychology has very, very short answers, all the way from multiple choice questions of 1 mark, all the way up to 16-mark essays, which are around about 2.5 sides. And we will develop your skills and help you to be successful within psychology. But the subject really is taught very much with us going over the theories, looking at the concepts with you, and developing your psychological terminology and your understanding of the subject, so that when you're presented with a piece of research, you are able to go through and pull out the strengths and weaknesses, for example, for that, and be able to bring that all together. In terms of extracurricular, we have lots of interventions. So we have intervention in year 13, which is looking at skills and also just general knowledge, getting you ready for those exams. It might be that we've had in the past a psychology society. It might be something you wish to set up or join, where you might want to conduct research as a group or look at different psychology in the news, for example. We have a board of that in one of our classrooms, looking at how psychology is influencing us. And it might be that you want to create and conduct your own research. This is something we do encourage, and therefore you can put a mini study together and conduct that on friends and family. So looking to the future and thinking about what psychology might be able to offer you moving forward. First of all, at A level, you can genuinely study psychology alongside many, many subjects. Because we have the biological component, we find many do study it alongside other sciences. You also find a lot of students study it alongside PE, because we do have elements that overlap. And you also find students study psychology alongside all of the other written subjects, whether it be history or English, geography, for example. It does nicely link to so many in terms of the skills, because of the fact that we cover such a wide base of skills within the subject. In terms of post-18, psychology, you can go on to do a psychology degree. However, there are also so many other links. Now, if you're thinking about doing a psychology degree, you could do straight psychology, in which there's a BSc or a BA. But you could also look at doing psychology with child psychology, or psychology with clinical, or forensic. There's just so many different options. In addition to that, people can go into marketing, human resources. It might be that you study business or biology related courses, PE as well, especially many of those going into sort of sports sciences, or the idea of sort of studying alongside training in other individuals. Medicine, social work, teaching. The list goes on. Psychology tends to open up quite a lot of doors, and although there may be the odd few courses that wouldn't be advisable to take psychology for, in the main, many degrees welcome psychology A-level.